Alright, this is part 2 of my transfer case adventure, I guess you can say. In part 1, or in the first video, I took apart the NP242 out of my Cherokee Sport over here, and completely disassembled it. And in this video, I'm going to pretty much be doing all the bearing work and the reassembly. So thanks for stopping by, and I hope you enjoy the show. I don't know what I'm doing because this is the first time I've ever done it, so please leave some comments and tell me what I'm doing wrong. And yeah, or tell me what I'm doing right. And so get on this thing. And by the way, it's like in the middle of August right now, and it's like stupid hot here in Texas, and I got the fans going in the garage, so if you see a bunch of flashing lights or if you can hear them, I'm real sorry, but I'm gonna die if I don't have that shit on. So but yeah, this assembly was actually pretty easy. This is the first time I've ever taken a transfer case apart, and it actually came apart pretty easy. I mean, I know I read something on there, and I looked up a video real quick on, like, the hardest part is like the shift fork, and the hardest part is the shift fork and the pin and trying to extract that shit. But you can just kind of just pry everything out, and hopefully it goes back in good without any problems. I don't really see anything bending. This shit's like, it looks pretty damn strong. So, but yeah, the Jeep itself, it was having some type of, it had some kind of noise, like around 65 miles an hour. I know it's not any of the axles or anything like that, because it did it before the gear change, and I've actually swapped the rear axle with another Cherokee I had. So the noise I'm getting, it's coming from either this transfer case or it's coming from the transmission. I don't really know. I'm hoping that it's like the output shaft like bearing or input shaft bearing. I don't really know. But hopefully this remedies it. If it doesn't, I don't know what I'm going to do with the transmission, because it's in the damn transmission. And I just might get a junkyard transmission from the junkyard. They're really cheap. My junkyard always has like 4 or 5 of these damn things. They're 1 out of every 10 is probably 4-wheel drive. So gotta kind of wait on that. I'll probably wait till the winter if I actually need to pull out, you know, like a transmission. And I'll probably end up, mostly every time I've been there to go look, the transfer cases in the Cherokees, they're 231s. So I might end up just taking all of it, you know, all the drive shafts and 231, and do an SYE kit, and that would probably work out a lot better for what I got going on here. But yeah, yes, we'll see. I actually gotta, let's see something here. Like this bearing here, I was kind of wondering if this is like a common issue with this transfer case. It's this bearing here. This is the one. Is this the one? I mean, it's got a little bit of play in it, but is this the one that takes a dump pretty much? And this is the one that drives the front yoke, because the replacement is a sealed unit. So it looks a little, I mean, it's different, you know. So I don't know how this is actually gonna perform in there, because it's a sealed unit. But it must be some smaller bearings in there, maybe. I don't really know. But if anybody knows anything about that, you know, hit me up in the comments. I guess go ahead and get started on putting this thing back together. Oh, and the Speedo gear, if anybody has any information on which one I need to get for 456 gears, please tell me, because I don't want to look it up. Leave me a link on where to get it, you know, where the cheapest place to get it and all that. So it's actually, I mean, this thing isn't very hard to pull out, so I really need to fix the Speedo. It's off by about 5 miles an hour maybe. So, well, anyways, that's enough of me talking and shit. Get on pushing some of these bearings in, taking apart some of this stuff right here. Alright, so going through the bearing kit, and here's that. Looks like I have everything. So this one's that one. These guys, they're in here, I think. Or they're in here. Take that guy apart. There's needle bearings. This guy's down there. This guy right here. That guy. This is going to be the fun one. Right here. So, I got everything. Cool. It comes with the new little guides, the forks. That's it. And then all the seals. I mean, I'm pretty sure if it has all those bearings like that, the seals are good. I think with this gasket, I'm not going to use it. I'm just going to silicone everything. Cool. Alright, so I think I'm going to start with this one, the blind hole bearing. Because this is the one that seems to give people the most problems, I guess. I saw one guy, I think it was the Nick and Time channel. He was trying to get that guy out, and he was doing all kinds of stuff. Like, he was building tools and all kinds of things. But, I can probably get this out. I mean, one way of getting these blind holes out is by using bread or grease, wet newspaper, and packing it in here. And keep packing it in. You can pack it in there with a socket, and it'll actually push this bearing out. But that's not going to work so well, because it actually has like an oiling hole right here. So I'm going to go ahead and give the slide hammer a shot. Now, this is a slide hammer I keep here at home. It's not the one I use at work. If you have a Cherokee and you don't have one of these and you do all the work yourself, you need to get one of these. This is the Harbor Freight one. It's cheap, and it's pulled all the bearings out of the rear axle, no problem. It's pulled on a bunch of shit that, anything I needed it to do, it's done. I mean, it doesn't come with this is an old Craftsman puller that they don't sell anymore. That bitch is badass, the way it's shaped. But you can tell it's old because look, it has this kind of funny end on. Anyways, it comes with I don't know how. No, I actually got this on Amazon. I'll leave a link for it. I didn't get it on the It's the Nico one. 5 pounds. 5-pound slide hammer adapter. This uses the jaws. You can take the jaws off and put it on here. This thing's really handy. A hook. And this is for doing like body work. Do body work with this guy. The body work adapters. Anyway, so I'm gonna give this a shot. Confident I can get it out without any struggles. But basically, the way this thing works is it has this sliding adapter ring here. It's shaped a certain way. You can turn these things inside out, do a bunch of different things, and you tighten it down, and it makes the puller do stuff. I'll show you how it works. Alright, yeah, so getting it in here is the fun part. And it has I might have to take these, kind of cut it up and take these rollers out, but there's a little lip down there where the rollers are. I might be able to get it. All you gotta do is just make sure it's in evenly and tighten it up as tight as you can get it. It's kind of tricky because the hammer wants to move. Alright. Get it where you want it. And you can turn it in a little bit. Probably help it out a little bit. Loosening it up a little bit. Let's see here. See if it's grabbing. Alright. So hopefully you can see that. You can see a whole lot of my shit. Move as straight as you can. This is 5 pounds, so it doesn't take much power. And it's actually, you can see how it's moved up to that top lip. This is probably gonna take a couple times to get it right, but see how it kind of works. So I might have to cut these out to be able to get it to grab. Let's try something else. No. Let's see that shit. It's starting to come out. There you go. And the way I had to use the tool is, I didn't really want to use it like this. Hopefully the camera focuses on that, but the threaded part ends up touching these fingers and spreads them out. Grabs it really good. No damage, no weird shit, nothing wrong with the back of it. Alright, so this step right here with the press is totally unnecessary. You don't need to use it. This is the only time I use it in during the whole transfer case rebuild. But you can pretty much get away with pushing all the bearings in with a race driving kit or a brass hammer, a brass punch. You totally don't need the press here. I really didn't know how pressed in that bearing was, but actually they go in pretty easy, so all right, don't need a press. All right, one down. I don't know, 5 or 6 more to go. All right, so you are gonna need 2 pairs of snap ring pliers. Your standard set, like I'm using right here, that use the pins, and you're gonna need the style for like snap rings that are used in like transmissions and things. I don't remember exactly what the pliers are called, but I'll leave a link down in the description box. They'll take you to the pliers that you're going to need. So 2 sets of pliers. Alright, so this looks kind of bad, but as long as you're using a tool on the right part of the seal, you're really not going to tear it up. So right here, I'm not tearing the seal up, I'm just getting it on there. Alright, so now you're gonna start hearing all the kids in my neighborhood. They're all outside, so I just want to apologize for that. But you're gonna hear Power Wheels, kids screaming at each other, kids asking me questions, so sorry. It's in the video. Nothing I can do about it. So that brass punch, man, I use it. I use it on all kinds of things. It's real handy. I mean, it doesn't tear anything up. You can pretty much just go whack the shit out of anything that's kind of fragile, and it does a good job of driving things in. So here, you know, I'm just reusing some of the old bearing to hammer the new bearing in. This just to prevent any damage to the bearings. And you're gonna want to, you know, replace the snap ring. The new bearing actually comes with a new snap ring. Just pop that sucker right in there. Don't want to play with it, okay? Alright, so the rebuild kit comes with two of those plastic washers right there. There's one on the top, there's one on the bottom. Again, I've never done this before, so I didn't know if that one down there was metal, so I was trying to test it with the magnet. But you just drop the new ones in, one on the bottom, the one on top. Now right here, there's a pilot bearing in that gear, and just take note how deep that pilot bearing sits in there. You just drive right out through the back right there. When you put your new one in, you're going to want to drive it in exactly the same depth as the old one. You can actually drive it in too far probably, and from what it looks like, if you drive it in too far, you'll probably have problems putting the transfer case back on the transmission. The output shaft of the transmission will probably hit it. So just take note. It's a pretty important step right here, is to get that pilot bearing pushed in at the correct depth, or you'll be tearing down the whole transfer case. You want some more balloons? So I'm going to take apart the shaft just to get to those needle bearings right there. Now they just slide right off the shaft and they're held together in that cage, and you can just pop them right out and just pop the new ones in. It's pretty simple. Just be kind of careful with the cage because it's made out of plastic. It could be kind of brittle, but it'll take a little bit of time just to pop these things in and out. So I use brake clean to clean all the surfaces before I put down any type of RTV. And on that cover, you got to take note that it goes on a certain way. There's a little oil channel that you need to line up and not get silicone on when you go to put that thing on. So you can see it right there. I just want to apologize, but for some reason I didn't record me putting the forks back in and replacing those little guides that the gears on the forks roll onto. But it's actually, it's not too bad. Just put it all back how you got it. Then you're gonna have to pry that pin back into place, which it actually goes back in pretty easily. I end up using a hammer on it a little bit because it just falls right in there. Now this is probably the most rewarding part of the whole rebuild right here, is putting the new chain on and just dropping the set back in. For some reason, you just, like the whole time, I'm just like working to get to this point right here. This is the rewarding part for some reason. But yeah, it just falls right in. You might have to jiggle it around to get it, everything to sit down, but not too bad. And I end up spinning it around, make sure nothing's binding up. It looks good.
It's going up! That's it. You gotta catch it. Catch it. Oh my god. Tell me when it's good. Wait, no. One more.
So the oil pump has a seal, and the pickup tube has a seal. Then you can just pop it right out with a screwdriver or a pry bar. The little pickup tube seal, I end up just using a pick to pull it out of that hole. I just put the new one on the pickup tube, just slide it right in there. So the ones with the washers go with the pins. Okay. So the oil seal that I kind of, use the slide hammer to deform, I'm just kind of, trying to get it back into good shape, and I'll just end up just banging it down on the shaft. Now at some point I'm going to have to change that speedo gear out because 33s and the gears, man, my speedo is way off. So somebody knows what tooth gear I'm supposed to buy, let me know. Now rebuilding rear ends and doing gears and things like that, you're kind of taught to put silicone on the splines when you're putting your yokes back on. So when I took this off, it really didn't have any silicone on or anything like that. It did have that rubber washer, but I really didn't want it leaking or anything, so I went ahead and just put a little bit of silicone on there, just for good measure, I guess. So I really don't know what the torque setting is on this thing. I think it's at least 120 foot-pounds. So I'm just kind of using the force and just tightening it up on there until there's pretty much no play left in it.
Alright, sorry about the long 30-minute video. I know it's pretty hard to watch 30-minute long YouTube videos. But I kind of wanted to show you exactly how to rebuild the transfer case, or how it went down. But currently, I just got the transfer case back up. And I don't have it hooked up all the way. Pretty much need to just fill it up with some trans fluid and hook the drive shaft back up, and it'll be good to go. The install, like a recap on the install, is actually pretty simple. You just need pretty much like a hammer, screwdriver. You didn't really need to use the press like I did. You could just use, some sockets, some blocks of wood, and you need the snap ring pliers, both kind. I actually don't know what the special kind is called, but the standard snap ring pliers and the other type of pliers for the other, like, ring snap rings. I know the internet's gonna kill me for whatever those rings are actually called. They're not called snap rings, they're called something else, but the two sets of pliers. The brass punch really helps out. A brass hammer would help out, but I just end up using a brass punch. But if you're thinking about rebuilding the transfer case, busting it open, I say give it a shot. It's really not that hard. Once you do it once, shoot, man, I could probably rebuild that whole thing in like an hour, it feels like. There's really not too much to it. The 231 is probably, it's pretty close, if not exactly the same. The sun gear might be a little bit different or something, and it just might be a little bit different from what I've seen. But yeah, pretty simple, no big deal. Well, if you made it this far, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button and subscribe if you want to see me working on this thing a little bit more. Next up for the Jeep is going to be bumpers. I'm going to do bumpers next, so be on the lookout for that. And again, subscribe, hit the thumbs up button. You guys take care, safe, have a great weekend. Later.